True Stories of Glencoe, The Tragedy and the Hauntings. Glencoe, a stunning valley nestled in the Scottish Highlands, is known for its rugged beauty and the haunting tales that echo through its mist-covered mountains. The area is steeped in both natural wonder and a dark history, making it a prime location for ghost stories and supernatural legends. While Glencoe today is a serene, picturesque destination for hikers and nature lovers, it is also a place burdened by the ghosts of the past, particularly the tragic massacre that occurred in 1692. Here, the tragic history of Glencoe and its lingering spirits come to life in unsettling and eerie stories that have persisted for centuries. To understand the hauntings of Glencoe, one must first confront the massacre that has forever linked to the valley, to death and betrayal. On the night of February 13th, 1692, the MacDonald clan, who had lived in Glencoe for centuries, were mercilessly slaughtered by soldiers of the Campbell clan. Under the guise of friendship and hospitality, the soldiers were invited into the homes of the MacDonalds. They had been sent by the King of England, William of Orange, to enforce a government order that required all Highland clans to swear allegiance to the crown. When the MacDonalds failed to do so within the required time frame, the Campbells were ordered to wipe them out. The soldiers, who had been staying with the MacDonalds for days, were in their homes, eating and drinking with them, when they turned on their hosts in the dead of night. The attack was swift and brutal. Men, women, and children were killed in their beds, and many of those who tried to flee were hunted down and shot or stabbed in the snow. The massacre left 38 MacDonald men dead, and the death toll is believed to be much higher, as many were left to die in the freezing cold. This act of treachery has since haunted the region, and Glencoe is often described as a place where the past has never been able to rest. The land, stained with the blood of those who perished, is said to be cursed by the massacre, and several chilling stories have emerged from both locals and visitors over the years. One of the most persistent ghost stories in Glencoe involves the spirit of a woman, known locally as the Wailing Woman. She is said to appear at night, especially when the weather is particularly bleak, with the mist rolling in from the mountains. Her cries can be heard echoing through the valley, often described as a wail of pure anguish, like the sound of someone mourning a lost loved one. According to the story, the Wailing Woman is the spirit of a MacDonald mother who witnessed the massacre. In the chaos of that night, she lost her family and watched as her children were slain before her eyes. Unable to survive the grief, she wandered the valley in a state of madness, searching for her lost family, calling out for them in despair. Some say that she finally died alone, frozen in the snow, still crying out for her loved ones. The Wailing Woman is often heard on cold, moonless nights, where the mist from the valley creeps down to the village below. Some say she can be seen as a faint figure in the fog, still searching for those she lost, her pale face twisted in eternal sorrow. Another chilling tale from Glencoe involves the ghostly sounds of footsteps in the snow. Glencoe's winters are often harsh, with deep snow and biting cold. In the dark months, visitors report hearing the distinct sound of footsteps crunching in the snow, but when they look around, they see no one. These phantom footsteps are particularly unnerving because they often appear after a snowstorm when the snow is fresh and untouched. There should be no tracks at all. One story that circulates in the area is about a group of travellers who were staying in the remote cabin during a heavy snowstorm. After the storm subsided, they went outside and noticed there were no footprints in the snow around the cabin. However, as they walked toward the edge of the forest, they began to hear the unmistakable sound of footsteps behind them, steps that seemed to follow them, no matter how far they went. When they stopped, the footsteps would stop as well, only to begin again once they resumed walking. The locals believe these footsteps belong to the spirits of those who perished during the massacre, wandering the hills of Glencoe in search of peace. They say that the footsteps may sometimes lead travellers astray, taking them off their paths and deep into the unforgiving wilderness, where they too may meet a tragic fate. A more sinister figure is reported to haunt the glen itself. an unnaturally dark and tall shape that appears suddenly, emerging from the shadows of the hills and disappearing as quickly as it came. The figure is said to be a shadow without substance, its form indistinct but imposing. Those who have seen it often describe a sudden feeling of overwhelming dread and the sense of being watched, as though the very land itself is alive with malevolent intent. In one chilling encounter, a hiker who had ventured into the glen late in the afternoon reported seeing the figure standing motionless at the edge of a ridge. The figure, described as cloaked in dark, flowing garments, simply watched the hiker, not moving, just standing like a silent sentinel. The hiker, feeling a deep sense of unease, tried to move closer but found that his feet wouldn't obey him, as if something invisible was holding him back. Terrified, he turned and ran, but when he looked back, the figure had vanished without a trace. This shadowy figure is thought to be the manifestation of the spirit of a Campbell soldier who was involved in the massacre. Some claim that the figure is a cursed soul, forever trapped in the glen, unable to escape the terrible act he participated in. Others believe the figure is more malevolent presence, an evil force that continues to haunt the valley, forever linked to the massacre that took place on that fateful night. Perhaps the most unsettling phenomenon reported in Glencoe is the sound of gunshots, sharp, echoing shots that can be heard reverberating through the valley. Many who have heard the gunshots report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, as if the violence of the massacre is being replayed in real time. The sound of these phantom gunshots is often accompanied by the sound of screaming, the desperate cries of men and women being gunned down. Some believe the gunshots are an auditory manifestation of the massacre, an event so horrific that it has left an indelible mark on the land. Others think the sounds represent the final moments of the MacDonald clan, forever trapped in the valley, their screams and the gunshots of their assailants repeating in an endless loop. Today, Glencoe is a place of extraordinary natural beauty, attracting tourists from around the world to hike its majestic hills and enjoy the dramatic landscapes. Yet beneath its serene exterior, the valley remains haunted by the ghosts of its tragic past. The memories of the massacre linger in the air, and the spirits of those who died that night still roam its mist-covered hills, bound to the land by the violence and betrayal that marked their untimely end. Visitors to Glencoe often report strange feelings of unease, the sensation of being watched or hearing voices on the wind, but many of these experiences are dismissed by the natural effects of isolation in a remote part of the world. However, for those who don't know the history, the sounds of footsteps in the snow or the wails of lost souls cannot be easily explained away. For those who dare to venture into the valley, it's clear that Glencoe's tragic history has left its mark. Whether it is the lingering echoes of violence or the restless spirits of the MacDonald clan, Glencoe remains a place where the past never truly fades away. Instead, it is a land that holds its sorrow in the mountains, the winds, and the whispers of the mist.